Further north, the war in Ukraine is spilling over. It has reached Russia, but not in a way that Moscow would have imagined. Russia ended up bombing its own city today. A Russian jet was flying near the Ukrainian border. It dropped bombs over Belgorod, which is a Russian city, and this is how it happened. Here is the aftermath. It was an accident. The Russian fighter dropped a bomb by mistake. 2 people were injured, 4 apartments and some cars were damaged. How did this happen? It's not quite clear yet. Russia has released limited information. It said the bomb dropped from a Sukhoi Su-34. It was flying over Belgorod. The bomb was accidentally fired. Here's what the city's governor said.
3 people have been injured. 1 person refused to be taken to the hospital. 1 resident was diagnosed with a closed head injury and concussion. Their life is not in danger. They're receiving all the help they need. 1 elderly woman felt bad. Her blood pressure went up and she was hospitalized. The medics are now looking after her. Thank God there are no dead.
Belgorod is vulnerable. Since the war began in 2022, this region has seen several explosions and bombings. And the latest incident might have been an accident. But in the past, there have been targeted attacks, reportedly carried out by Ukraine. Just this week, a village in Belgorod was hit. It was a drone attack. The targets were local thermal power plants. Small bombs were dropped on them through drones. Did Ukraine do it? Here's an official statement from Kiev, and I'm quoting, "We will not confirm or deny Ukraine's involvement. I think that Russians should get used to the fact that while they are waging an unjust war of aggression, there are no safe places on their territory." So this attack was basically a threat. If Russia wages war, its own territories are not safe either. That's what they're saying. Meanwhile, Zelensky continues to make demands. He wants a NATO membership, and the NATO chief was in Kiev, his first visit since the war began. He offered support. But Zelensky wants more. He wants a clear path for Ukraine's membership.
The NATO summit in Vilnius can become historic. I'm grateful for the invitation to visit the summit, but it is important that Ukraine receives an appropriate invitation. There is no objective obstacle that would prevent the adoption of political decisions on the invitation of Ukraine to the alliance.
So Zelensky will attend the NATO summit in July. Will he get the membership? The NATO chief made no such promise.
So all NATO allies have agreed that Ukraine will become a member. President Zelensky has a very clear expectation. We discussed this, both the issue of membership but also security guarantees. And of course, Ukraine needs security because no one can tell when and how this war ends. But what we do know is that when the war ends, we need to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself.
Let me decode that for you. As long as the war continues, Ukraine's membership bid will be stuck in a limbo. So that's one demand that won't be met in a hurry, if at all. Though Zelensky's list is a long one. He also wants long-range weapons, jets and ammunition. What for? Apparently, they're planning a counter-offensive to reclaim lost territory. So they want firepower for 2 things: to hold off fresh advances from Russia and to reclaim what they've lost in the past. Again, will this wish be granted? NATO held a meeting today at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany. And what did they decide? Listen to this.
Together, we will make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to live in freedom. Together, we will defend the rules-based international order that keeps us all secure. And together, we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
For as long as it takes, he says, which makes for a good speech. But is America really prepared for another forever war? Where would it draw the line, given the fact that Zelensky's wish list is never ending? You know what else he wants? A summit with Latin America. And for this, he's reached out to Mexico. Again, how does a summit with Latin America help him? Zelensky says it will be a chance for the region to, quote-unquote, show unity, to come together for principles like territorial integrity. Interesting pitch, for want of a better word. But will it find takers? Can he get countries like Brazil on board? You may remember what Brazil's president said recently. He was visiting China last week and he said Washington should stop encouraging the war. Those were his words. Also, the US and EU, and I'm quoting, need to start talking about peace. That's what President Lula da Silva of Brazil said. And arguably, he speaks for many, especially in the global south. Because war fatigue is setting in. People are tired of this conflict and the politics that fuels it. And perhaps it's time for Zelensky to acknowledge his real challenges. His team is under scrutiny for embezzlement of aid money. There are cracks in the Western unity over Ukraine. And all he wants is another speech to rally Latin America behind him. If optics is his game, he's losing there too, and increasingly sounding like a broken record. Global temperatures are on the rise. The world is heating up. Ask anyone in Asia braving this heat wave right now. But guess who else is feeling hot? ChatGPT, the OpenAI Chat Bot. And to cope with the heat, it likes staying hydrated. So ChatGPT is guzzling water. Apparently, every 20 to 50 questions, it needs a bottle of water. And while getting trained, it consumes some 700,000 liters of water. Sure, hydration is great, but this is worrying. Are global water challenges worth having ChatGPT do our English homework? Here's a report.
OpenAI's chatbot was launched in November last year. It's called ChatGPT. You've probably heard of it. Well, unless you're Patrick, you know, the SpongeBob cartoon character who lived under a rock. But jokes aside, ChatGPT has been the talk of the town. It has soared in popularity. It can answer questions with near accuracy. It can write poems for you, do your math homework, and even write code. Over 100 million people use it every month. All in all, it's been making waves. But speaking of water, ChatGPT is now under scrutiny for having too much of it. Yes, you heard that right. A new study is out. It's been conducted in the US. It says that ChatGPT has been guzzling down water, and lots of it. For every 20 to 50 questions, it needs a bottle of water. That's 500 ml. And may we add, it's fresh, clean water. Yes, it's not been recycled or repurposed. And sure, 500 ml doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. Remember, ChatGPT has millions of users. Think about the number of questions, the number of recipe suggestions, and holiday homework answers. So just imagine how much water it's been drinking and how it's increasing its water footprint. This is an environmental indicator, a lot like a carbon footprint. It measures the volume of fresh water used. But we'll get to more of that later. First, the golden question. How do AI chatbots use water? Just to make it clear, chatbots don't directly drink the water. It's used by their data centers. The water helps them generate electricity and cool the racks of servers, which is important. Chatbots rely on thousands of servers that are spread across the world. They're high-functioning machines, and they need to be cooled down regularly so they can maintain optimal performance. And the more complex the chatbot, the more water it needs. Like GPT-3, it's more advanced, and so it's also thirstier. While training GPT alone, about 7,000 liters of water were used. But there's no publicly available data. Even this research we're talking about is not peer-reviewed. It's been shared ahead of its publication. Because there's very little research on the environmental impact of AI. Experts say that AI models have a water footprint. It's massive, but it's been under the radar. Remember when Bitcoin was stuck in this messy puddle too? Millions of so-called data miners are gaga over cybercurrencies. They use it to extract wealth, but little do they know this comes at a high price, because it takes water to generate each unit. Every single transaction burns electricity, enough for an entire household for a week. And this is highly problematic. Artificial intelligence may get away with this, but these problems have real-world consequences. The water crisis is gruesome. 1 in 10 people lack access to safe water. 1 in 4 don't have access to basic sanitation. And about 1 million people die from it each year. A child is dying every 2 minutes. So this is serious. And companies need to acknowledge their role in it. They need to take social responsibility and make data more transparent. Water challenges are growing, but so is collective action. There's more global scrutiny, so companies can't stay under the radar anymore. It's no longer going to float their boat. And next time ChatGPT wants to cool down, might we suggest meditation?
You head to work on a Thursday. What's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe a spilled coffee or a glitch on your work computer. That's about it for most people. But not Elon Musk. Yesterday was a terrifying Thursday for him. First, he removed blue ticks from legacy Twitter accounts. All hell broke loose. The likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Beyoncé lost their blue tick. Their fan armies were not happy. Secondly, his rocket exploded. SpaceX tested the world's heaviest rocket on Thursday. Minutes later, this happened. Dreams and rocket, both up in flames. Third, Tesla missed revenue expectations. Net income was 20% less than last year. Plus, they sold around 7,000 fewer cars than expected. And I know that 7,000 may not seem like much, but Tesla is not like Ford or General Motors. Their total sales are about 4 lakh. So to recap, 3 things happened to Elon Musk in one day. He got backlash for removing blue ticks. His rocket exploded, and his car company missed its target. The end result? A massive loss of fortune. Elon Musk lost $13 billion in one day. $13 billion, most of it from his Tesla holdings. He's now worth around $164 billion. That makes him the second richest person behind the owner of Louis Vuitton. So what does Elon Musk think about his terrible Thursday? He did tweet this amid all the chaos. Such a great day in so many ways, he said. Clearly, ways unknown to us. Losing a rocket and $13 billion would be a downer for most people, but not Elon Musk. His brand is built around maverick moves, like buying Twitter on an impulse, or insulting senators on social media, or calling it a good day after losing $13 billion. If you scroll down below that tweet, you'll understand what I mean. Look at some of the comments. Elon Musk would make a great president, says one. Every day you are alive and healthy is a great day. You're a rock star, Elon. Today's launch was epic. It's almost like an echo chamber. Facts and reality don't seem to matter. What matters is Elon Musk's bravado and his late-night tweets. And he knows it. When Elon bought Twitter, he called himself a centrist. In fact, he said it multiple times that he's a centrist. But can you think of anyone more polarizing on Twitter? Either you hate him or you like him. The indifferent gang is not Elon Musk's target. Coming back to the events of Thursday, Elon Musk congratulated the Starship team for the launch, the same launch that failed. He congratulated them. Experts say this is classic SpaceX template, what they call successful failure. Instead of seeing the explosion as a setback, you double down. You look at the positives. In this case, the rocket managed to lift off. It also gave valuable data on flight risks. Apparently, it's a great strategy. It's a strategy that has served SpaceX well. On to Twitter now. Most legacy accounts have lost their blue tick. Bill Gates, Kim Kardashian, Ronaldo, Virat Kohli, even the Pope. It's a really long list. Many government agencies, ministers, and media companies have also lost it. Now, to be fair, Elon Musk did give a warning. Twitter has rolled out something called Twitter Blue. You get verified only if you pay. It's $8 a month for individuals and $1,000 for organizations. The hope is that these payments will make Twitter profitable. Will it also dilute the whole idea of verification? It will, yes, but Musk is not concerned about that. His business model is less about bottom lines and more about brand building. The bigger the brand, the higher the share value, which is good for Elon Musk since most of his wealth is tied up in stocks. In 2021, he was worth $158 billion. Out of this, $110 billion was Tesla stock, $18 billion was SpaceX equity, another $7 billion in cars, homes, and other assets. By his own admission, Elon Musk is cash poor. It explains why he's eager to expand his cult, why he turns failures into so-called learning experiences, why he laughs off a $13 billion loss. When and if this bubble bursts, Elon Musk's Twitter timeline will be interesting. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Muslims across the world are celebrating the festival of Eid, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Next, we show you California's super bloom, where an unusually wet winter has led to carpets of wildflowers. Meanwhile, in the US, 8 tornadoes ripped through Oklahoma. And finally, what happened today in history? We're taking you back to the year 1989 to China's Tiananmen Square protests. Over 1 million students gathered to protest against the authoritarian government. After the Wuhan virus protests, this was China's biggest act of resistance. And it ended with bloodshed on the 3rd of June. Beijing rolled tanks to crush the protest of unarmed civilians. We're leaving you with these images. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. The US and Russia are dangerously close to an armed conflict. This year, 2023, New Delhi will be the capital of global diplomacy. For a country as diverse as ours, with 88% of the population illiterate, it was a very big deal to write a constitution, and that too, the world's largest. Meanwhile, if we may, here's a Republic Day gift from India for the BBC. A list of suggestions for the BBC for their upcoming documentaries. Number 1, the Kohinoor and the colonial loot. Number 2, an outdated monarchy and unhealthy obsession with the royals. Number 3, racism in 2023. We're waiting.